Just because you're a good person doesn't mean you can't be deceived by a demon in a cave. Or maybe he was a charlatan from the very beginning, and he was intentionally trying to conjure demons, and he was living a good life in public, a respectable life, I should say, in public, while doing these things in practice. People who are practicing the occult don't usually go around telling random people they meet, hey, by the way, did you know that I was doing occult practices in my basement last night?
Unless they do
They keep
CrossFit
it
or
secret.
they're a vegan, then they will tell you.
Right. Right, exactly. So if you want to go on to the next slide, here's our test of truth, right? Our test whether Islam makes you a better person by the example of Muhammad coming from Jesus, where he says in the Gospel of Matthew, beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly are ravenous wolves. You will recognize them by their fruits. Are grapes gathered from thorn bushes or figs from thistles? So every healthy tree bears good fruit, but the diseased tree bears bad fruit. A healthy tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a diseased tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. You will recognize them by their fruits. So we see before Muhammad becomes a prophet, if we're taking the sources for granted, that he has many good qualities. To bring up what we've seen so far, and we're going to add a couple more after we get the finish Muhammad's story of the revelation. But we've seen that he keeps good social relations, that he speaks the truth, and he's an honest person. He bears people's burdens, which I'm interpreting as he's empathetic. He feels for those in less fortunate positions. He helps the destitute. So not only does he have empathy for those less well off, he gives of his own resources to them. He entertains guests, which is put in here mostly for fun, but it is part of what Khadija said. And he helps against the vicissitudes which affect people, which means he fights against bad fortunes. If things are happening to people, they are experiencing tragedy in his life, or they're being downtrodden, they're being oppressed, they're being made into dhimmis, let's say, then he fights against those injustices in the world, at least according to the sources.
I just want to say thank you to Kitsune. Thank you very much. Thank you for the support. Much appreciated. And he asks, do you have the source of Muhammad sneaking up on the Jewish child wrapped in a blanket doing mysticism? I always found that one disturbing. Islam Critiqued actually does a discussion on that one that I quite liked. So have a look for on Islam Critique's channel, the child in the blanket. Now, I don't think he really goes into the depth and detail that he could, but he certainly hints at what this is, and clearly there's a level of magic there. And also, it should be noted that people speak of, now look, first of all, you had Merkaba mysticism, right? The Jewish Merkaba, and that became a popularized form that is commonly called Kabbalah, right? Oh, however, don't forget the Muslims had their own version of it called Kabbalah, right? So there was a Muslim version of this mysticism as well that they called, this is their own form of it. So there's different forms of it, and Kabbalah is a very late form of it, which seems to be, to me, it seems to be derived from the Muslim version. Yeah, thanks. Back to you, Thaddeus.
Yeah, and I don't know the number of that hadith off the top of my head, but it's in one of the Sahih canonical collections, and it can be found at sunnah.com. So if you want to go on, we'll finish up what Sahih Muslim 160 has to say. Khadija then took him to Waraqa. So after Khadija tells Muhammad that he's a prophet because he's a nice person, basically, she takes him to Waraqa, who is apparently the family expert on these matters. He is her cousin, and he says, and he was the man who embraced Christianity in the days of ignorance, and he used to write books in Arabic, and therefore wrote Injil in Arabic as God willed that he should write. He was very old and had become blind. Khadija said to him, "O uncle, listen to the son of your brother." Waraqa ibn Naful said, "O my nephew, what do you see?" And the messenger of Allah then informed him that what he had seen, and Waraqa said to him, "It is Namus that God sent down to Musa." They also
Namus.
left this word untranslated. Now, a couple things of note here. In addition to Namus, which sometimes Muslims tell us is supposed to mean Jibril, which is a little ridiculous that they're saying that, Jibril was sent down, so that's what it means. It most likely means, well, first of all, today in contemporary Islam, it means like kind of honor, and that it's the honor you hold. That's definitely not what it means here. That's definitely not what it means in context. It probably means law. That's probably the best guess as to what it means. But again, it's one of these words that the original meaning is kind of lost by the time that Muslims are writing commentary on these sources. So they're not 100% sure what it means.
The law, Arabic gives prevalence to the law adopted from the Septuagint translation, Honomus al-Namus. Yeah, but I can look through my sources on this one as you go, but that's interesting.
Yeah, and I think the idea here is that, according to Waraqa, Muhammad is receiving the same law that was sent down to Moses, that he is consistent with what the Quran says about itself, that he is just another prophet in the same line, revealing the same message that has been revealed before, and he's doing it in the language of Arabic because that message supposedly is already in Arabic. However, note what this source says about Waraqa, that he wrote the Injil in Arabic as God willed that he should write, i.e., he's doing some kind of channeling practice. And
yes.
He's tapping into some spirit here, right? He's claiming, he thinks it's God, but he's tapping into some sort of spirit. That spirit's inspiring him to write, and he thinks he's writing the Injil. He thinks he's writing the gospel. Apparently, there was a prophet before Muhammad in his own family, probably his teacher on how to practice mysticism. So he goes to Waraqa, who's the family expert on mysticism, and he says, "Yes, you are a prophet. I know this because I too have been channeling spirits. I too have been receiving the Injil, and I've been writing it in Arabic." Very interesting, since it supposedly didn't exist in Arabic. It supposedly is impossible that Muhammad could have heard it before, but here in their own sources, in Sahih Muslim, it says that Waraqa is getting revelation in Arabic.
Crazy.